So Rahul, you were talking about then you plunged into this first Jido Hambaiki business and then into real estate. Maybe in short, if you can talk your journey from that first Jido Hambaiki
sure.
to your current project, which is already done, and what is in pipeline.
Yes, sure.
And in total also, how many
Yes,
rooms and all?
yes, absolutely. So as I said, the initial start was with the Jido Hambaiki, and Jido Hambaiki was my focus. My real estate was never my focus there. Although I always wanted to, but मैंने इंडिया में काफ़ी failures किए थे. मैंने खुद के लिए घर लिया था तो I failed. It was not profitable at all. It went into litigation. So मुझे एक डर था अंदर कि real estate is not my forte. But somewhere when Uyama-san actually said, नहीं आप करके देखो, you try. And he was at a very senior, he was in fact the CEO of a very large Fudosan company at that time. So I said, चलो करते हैं फिर. And then that's how we started that Jido Hambaiki जहाँ पे थी वहाँ पर ही एक रूम, फिर वो रूम से वो बिल्डिंग हो गई. There were 17 rooms in that building in Saitama in Minami Urawa. That is where I started, which is a completely Japanese condominium and a typical Japanese ये place where Japanese contracts पे ही चलता है सारा everything. Then immediately I got the Shinjuku building opportunity. Then Kawasaki में एक हुई, and then this number became 45 suddenly within the same year itself. I jumped in quickly because Uyama-san was very aggressive. He said आज अब भी नहीं हुआ तो एक घंटे में, and I actually experienced this. कोइवा में एक बहुत बढ़िया जगह थी, इनफैक्ट कियोसुमी शिराकावा में, and that was fantastic building, बहुत ही बढ़िया थी. मैं जब तक हाँ बोलता तब तक वो बिल्डिंग चली गई. So then I jumped on whatever I got.
Quite fast then.
Yes. Yeah. But it was, somewhere वो trust था that whatever Uyama-san says, I will never fail. So वो trust था. So I jumped into it quickly. Then 6 महीने बाद ही मुझे रियलाइज हुआ कि यार ये तो कुछ जैसे सोचा था वैसे नहीं है, बिकॉज इसमें खानदी गायशा है, वो कमाती है, ये कमाते हैं, फिर इसमें रूम्स खाली रहते हैं तो आपको रिफर्निश करने पड़ते हैं, रिनोवेशन का खर्चा आता है, सो अल्टीमेटली टैक्स भी आता है, कोतेशी सान जही होता है, फुदोसान शुतोकु जही होता है पहले साल. तो ये सारी चीज़ों को कंसिडर करके हाउ एम आई गोइंग टू एक्चुअली encash profit out of this. And then eventually I realized that this is not the way I want to run. If I want profit, I have to work hard for it. So one day I decided, almost after a year or so, that I decided बहुत हो गया. Then I started firing the Khandi Gaishas simply. I decided that I will bring my own Khandi Gaisha who will do it at a minimum cost for me and ensure that the profit is mine. So धीरे धीरे the network of all people from insurance, renovation, advertising agencies, and these were all my people, my network that came into place, who started charging me less and do good work. उससे profit encashment होना शुरू हो गया, cash flow बनना शुरू हो गया, taxes तो वैसे भी ये थे. And that's how it started. So these were all almost 45 to 50 rooms then at that time. Then later on ये सब चल रहा था eventually. Now even, and I'll tell you, especially during the COVID times, I have seen the COVID was the best time ever, in fact, because COVID में कोई भी घर छोड़ के गया नहीं. So my no renovation cost, very little renovation cost, I would say. Costs were very minimum. The couple of rules that I had standardized was, first, I'm not going to trouble people by adding rents. कितना भी खर्चा हो, कुछ भी हो, मैं rents बढ़ाऊंगा नहीं. So throughout 8 years, I have never raised even a single rent by even a single yen. So that has been the policy. In fact, I've been giving freebies to people. कभी किसी को साइकिल दिया, किसी को कॉन्ट्रैक्ट रिन्यूअल्स के टाइम पर किसी को कुछ, कभी एक बार मुझे याद है चावल भी दिया था 5 किलो का, and all that also दिया था. So and then we started Wi-Fi, adding free Wi-Fi in all the buildings. फिर मेंटेनेंस मैंने कम करना शुरू किया. Then I got my own maintenance companies who slashed down the prices heavily, so bringing in the operational cost, lowering the operational cost, thereby maximizing the profits.
So Rahul, let's go and visit what you have been talking about, your Saitama property. It would be love to see it in person.
Sure.
So let's go there.
Sure.
1, 2, and
एक्चुअली याकेदाई करके बिल्डिंग है. सो ये साइतामा मिनामी उरावा में आती है. एंड सो दिस प्लेस बेसिकली वी बॉट इट इन 2016 एंड काफी निकी जगह है बिकॉज ऑफ इट्स लोकेशन. उसको रिवर व्यू भी अच्छा मिला है, गार्डन व्यू और फिर ओपन व्यू काफी अच्छा है. मोस्ट ऑफ द रूम्स आर टेरेस फ्लैट्स एज यू कैन सी. पार्किंग है नीचे, अंडरग्राउंड पार्किंग्स है. सो लोगों को काफी कंफर्टेबल जगह है. हाँ, स्टेशन से थोड़ा 12 मिनट वॉक है, बट एक्चुअली वंस दे कम एंड स्टार्ट स्टेइंग हियर बेस्ड ऑन द व्यू एंड ऑल, दे जनरली लाइक टू स्टे हियर. सो काफी स्टेबलाइज्ड है आई कैन से. जनरली रेंट पे जाने के बाद में कोई छोड़ता नहीं है ना जनरली, बिकॉज आपको टेरेस और ये वाले फ्लैट्स मिलते हैं तो काफी ये होता है. सो लोग रह लेते हैं.
How many units here?
यहाँ पर 17 है.
17 है.
Total,
और
17.
एक का कैसा है? 1
So
LDK, 2 LDK?
so these are all 2 LDK plus
2 LDK
एंड ऊपर के 3 LDK भी है.
Okay. And they have
Perfect.
very nice.
हाँ, नाइस व्यू अच्छे हैं. एंड यस, टेरेस होने के कारण दैट्स एन एडेड बेनिफिट.
Great. Thank you.
So the entire story started from here. My most favorite jihanki, as they say, the auto vending machine. इससे शुरुआत हुई थी. फिर उसने बताया कि इस बिल्डिंग में एक पहली रूम खाली है. Then this is where I started. And then धीरे-धीरे करके आगे दूसरी रूम, तीसरी रूम करके फिर then entire building, and then it was a good start. All I can say. Very
राहुल, जिहांकी लेने से पहले ये यहाँ पर रूम के बारे में पता चला कि जिहांकी
नहीं, जिहांकी पहले लिया.
लेकिन यहाँ पर कैसे सिलेक्ट हुआ पहले?
So जिहांकी was random actually. So it's वो कहते हैं ना, it's serendipity.
अच्छा.
I would say because it was all about जो मेरा so it's all about my godfather Uyama-san, who actually suggested why don't you start with the जिहांकी first,
Yeah.
right? And he said एक मिनामी उरावा में एक जिहांकी है, वहां से हम लोग स्टार्ट करते हैं. So this is the जिहांकी that I started. And then he said actually वो बिल्डिंग भी बेचने के लिए. So they were actually the owner owned both
अच्छा.
the building as well as the जिहांकी,
Okay.
right? So he said उनको बिल्डिंग भी बेचना है, तो why not we start with the जिहांकी first and then एक रूम करके, and then gradually then they came with this offer that the entire building can be purchased.
Great.
And I went ahead with the building.
Great.
Nice.
Thanks for
So
sharing.
ये पूरा पार्किंग है. यहाँ पर
अच्छा.
काफी बीच में लोग फरारी वगैरह भी पार्क करवाते थे, क्योंकि शेडेड पार्किंग है ना, जनरली नहीं मिलता है. काफी भरा हुआ है. अब तो काफी कार्स निकल गई, बट
लेकिन quite spacious enough.
हाँ, क्वाइट स्पेशियस इनफ. इनफैक्ट पार्किंग के लिए हमें जगह कम ही पड़ती है मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम. बाइक्स वगैरह, इनफैक्ट वो कोना है जहाँ पर हम लोग एक्चुअली मैं यहाँ पर स्टोरेज वगैरह भी करना चाहता था, कुछ किया नहीं है. वो एरिया पूरा अनयूज्ड है.
It can be used in quite different ways. Yes.
हाँ,
ये एक स्पेस भी ज्यादा है. बट यहाँ पर कार आती है ना, एक
काफी भरा है अभी.
ऐसी भी कार आ
लास्ट
सकती
टाइम
है
मैं
ना, ऐसी.
या सो ये गोमियों की बा, और यहाँ पर भी ना वो सोदा गोमी वगैरह सब यहाँ पे रखते हैं.
सोना ही होंगे.
ये स्पेस एक्चुअली अनयूज्ड है, सो वी कुड हैव यूज्ड इट फॉर समथिंग. और सारे पार्किंग्स भी फुल है.
नॉर्मली अभी इन्वेस्टर्स वो सोच रहे हैं कि यार मैं एक फ्लैट लूं इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए. 2 फ्लैट बोले तो थोड़ा सा ज्यादा स्ट्रेच हो गया. एंड यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट हाउ मेनी यूनिट्स हियर? 17 यूनिट्स. तो ये जो माइंडसेट है, राइट, माइंडसेट, of course believing in someone like you talked about the person you rely on for the property checking and all, लेकिन उसके अलावा भी आपका सेल्फ बिलीव भी होता है. क्या बोलते हैं, you are saying something to yourself which is actually allowing you to take that action. वो क्या चीज है कि नहीं, एक नहीं, 2 नहीं, मैं 17 ही खरीदता हूँ या पूरी बिल्डिंग खरीदता हूँ, whatever, right?
एक्चुअली ना, इसको कोई लॉजिक नहीं है. ऑनेस्टली द सिंपल लॉजिक इज बस 17 लेने के लिए बहुत बढ़िया लगेगा यार. एक्चुअली वही है.
Okay.
बहुत बढ़िया लगेगा.
सेल्फ टॉक, राइट?
या द सेल्फ टॉक इज वाओ, अगर ये पूरी बिल्डिंग मेरी है तो कितना अच्छा लगेगा. तो ऑनेस्टली ऑल स्टार्ट्स फ्रॉम देयर. एंड समवेयर मुझे हमेशा लगता है कि जैसे आप ज्यादा एनालिसिस करोगे तो डिफिकल्ट हो ही जाता है, क्योंकि आपको कुछ ना कुछ तो भी उसमें क्या कहते हैं उसके ड्रॉबैक्स वगैरह तो आपको दिखेंगे. सो दैट इज समथिंग दैट यू नो समवेयर यू हैव टू टेक दैट लीप ऑफ फेथ कहते हैं ना, दैट नहीं होगा अब इसको कन्वर्ट करेंगे, देखा जाएगा आगे जाके देखा जाएगा. सो इफ यू डू द मैथ समटाइम्स यू कम टू अ कंक्लूजन दैट नहीं यार एक्चुअली ये जम नहीं रहा है. सो मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम पीपल से दैट हमने मैथ करके देखा बट वो तो जम नहीं रहा है, इतना प्रॉफिटेबल आता नहीं है. बट मैंने हमेशा जितना मैथ एक्चुअल काम करके एक्सपीरियंस करके देखा है ना, इट्स वे प्रॉफिटेबल देन एनीथिंग. सो इनफैक्ट आई वुड रिकमेंड पीपल दैट अगर आपको अपॉर्चुनिटी अच्छी मिल रही है कि डाउन पेमेंट कम करके अगर आपको पूरी बिल्डिंग मिल रही है तो एंड देन बट अगेन कंडीशन अप्लाई. ये बिल्डिंग के केस में भी मैंने यही देखा था कि ओके विजिबिलिटी तो है, चलो स्टेशन से दूर है इसीलिए कोई बेच रहा है, वरना हमें क्यों मिलेगा.
राइट,
मैं हमेशा यही सोचता हूँ व्हाई इज इट फॉर मी, राइट. अगर ये बहुत ही बढ़िया सिचुएशन होता तो किसी और बड़े किसी बिल्डर ने या फिर इन्वेस्टर ने वो पहले खरीद के खत्म हो जाता. सो आई ऑलवेज थिंक दैट जब जो भी चीज ऑनलाइन आती है इट इज ऑलरेडी लेट फॉर यू. सो अगर आप ऑनलाइन कोई चीज देख रहे हो, घर देख रहे हो, घर भी आपके लिए खरीदना है, तो वो चीज जब आप ऑनलाइन देख रहे हो तो वो इट्स ऑलरेडी लेट,
इट्स अप इन द मार्केट. दैट मींस
जो बढ़िया चीज है वो आप तक पहुंचेगी भी नहीं, राइट. सो जब आप तक पहुंचे तो उसका कोई रीजन है एंड देन उसमें चैलेंजेस डेफिनेटली होंगे. सो अब इट ऑल डिपेंड्स ऑन यू वेदर यू वांट टू चेंज द मॉडल और समथिंग. फॉर इंस्टेंस यहाँ पर हमने क्या किया, मैंने देखा कि जब मैंने लिया था तो 17 में से, सो नाउ दैट इज वेयर द कैच वाज, 17 में से 5 घर खुले थे, इसीलिए वो बंदा बेच रहा था because he was not able to sell. Now 5 रूम्स, तो फिर मैंने यही किया कि शिकिकिन रे की नाशी स्ट्रेट अवे, पहले 2 महीने का भाड़ा फ्री,
बिल्कुल
2 महीने का भाड़ा फ्री, शिकिकिन रे की नाशी, नो इनिशियल डिपॉजिट नथिंग, जस्ट कम इन एंड स्टार्ट स्टेइंग. एक बार लोग यहाँ पर रहने आए, उसका व्यू अच्छा है, देन फिर कोई नहीं जाएगा. और पिछले 5 साल से आई डोंट रिमेम्बर एवर आई हैड टू वरी अबाउट दीज रूम्स. उसमें कुछ रूल्स मैंने वेरी स्ट्रिक्ट रखे हैं दैट फॉर इंस्टेंस देयर विल बी नो अपग्रेड्स इन एनी ऑफ द रेंट्स इन एनी ऑफ माय बिल्डिंग्स. एक बार भी इट कोविड और एनीथिंग, आई हैव नेवर रेज्ड एनी रेंट एट ऑल. दैट्स द फर्स्ट रूल. सेकंड, आई हैव गिवन फ्री वाईफाई एंड ऑल द अदर, well you can also positively call it as addiction, the positive addictions to people so that they want to stay with you. So these are positive benefits that they have got in addition. So for instance, I have given Wi-Fi not to everyone but to people who have completed 4 years. So long timers, right? Sense. Then gradually they start getting those added benefits as well, because you know that you are actually making profit, decent profit. Then it's important that you make, because इन चीजों में चैलेंज कब होता है, जब लोग लॉन्ग टर्म रहने के बाद में छोड़ के जाते हैं ना. सो ये रूम्स को क्लीन करने के लिए बहुत काफी खर्चा आता है, जो जिसको हम लोग गेंजो खाइफू को कहते हैं ना. सो दैट इज अ बिट एक्सपेंसिव एंड दैट इज वेयर योर प्रॉफिट्स एक्चुअली गो डाउन. सो यू जस्ट हैव टू मेंटेन लॉन्ग टर्म so that you have retained decent profits, that you can utilize later on for any repair work or damage that is required.
Great. I think you talked about a very important point. It was like a sales problem for him, and your sales expertise actually helped him.
Yeah.
Actually, also that might be the reason why you were confident taking this. Yeah, ठीक है, मैं 5 निकालने हैं मुझे extra, मैं निकाल लूँगा. Right. तो I think एक वो confidence है. और आई थिंक मेरा एक और क्वेश्चन था कि यू normally would do some rough calculation also, right, at the time of buying कि यार इतना % तो रिटर्न आ जाएगा. So I just want to know कि what was that percentage in your mind when you took this decision and when you see this reality, is there a difference if there is?
काफी, in fact I would say मैंने तो जो calculations किए थे वो completely गड़बड़ थे. In fact the profit I had not even imagined came out, honestly. They were much larger than what I thought. क्योंकि उस समय मैंने ये कैलकुलेशन नहीं किया था कि well yeah that is lack of my calculation style as well, but मैंने कैपिटल वगैरह इसके कैलकुलेशंस नहीं किए थे. So the capital gain that you have gained for in terms of long term is way large. Right? This property generally, these kind of properties generally come at a commercial interest rate of 2 से लेके 4% के बीच में होता है. So even if you take an average of 3%, right, that means for 35 years you are actually paying somewhere around 70% of capital versus 30% of interest, right? So 70% of capital gain you are making every month. यानी out of that EMI that you are paying, right? So your real expense is only 30% of that interest plus whatever building management cost, which I don't go with the typical Japanese companies like agencies and all. Kandigaisha, I basically have been doing these recently on my own by hiring people directly. So that the costs are completely minimized, so the profit is completely maximized, and that way now you see that the cash flow as well as the capital gain eventually goes up. अगर आपने देखा इसको, इसका appreciation भले ना हो, अब ये तो RC है, reinforced concrete. So in reinforced concrete, this is what? This is 43 year old building, but I guess this will be there for next year, almost 100 years of its life. कुछ नहीं होने वाला, right? So you can sell it at any time, even if you have got what 8 साल के ऊपर हो गए अभी. So for last 8 years, you make around 15% of capital gain just by paying the EMI. So even if you are selling this at no profit, no loss, you've made a decent 15% margin. Absolutely. Just by retaining the place. Absolutely. Forget about the cash flow. That is separate.
Right. That is completely different.
And over a period of time, you see that the cash flow is also quite decent here.
So Rahul, like from an Indian's point of view, is it good to consider like you are the first one who started this kind of within Indians itself?
Honestly, pata nahi, but it's 8 years ago. I have never heard about any Indian doing that.
Because 8 years tenure, if you consider.
Maybe. I have no clue.
So first Indian who started this kind of a property business.
Yes, that is how it started. But until then, I have never heard about anyone doing this. And initially, I thought कि मैं चलो एक जिदो हम्बाई की और एक रूम से start करूँगा. But very quickly, I got this entire building. And that time, well, those were a little bit lucky times as well. I would say that the banks were more liberal at that time. So 2014 से 17 तक, the banks were quite liberal in giving free loans as well. So very low down payment. Not even 10% of down payment was required. Now they have become more stricter owing to regulations and all. After 2017, थोड़े से laws change हुए. And now for a good property you have to pay somewhere around 25% or 30% cash down payment against a 70% loan. But then I would recommend that yes, having a good quality apartment, भले छोटी रूम भी हो, but quality अच्छा होना बहुत जरूरी है, location अच्छा होना जरूरी है, सस्ता होना not necessarily, right? I would recommend that अगर Indians भी सोच रहे हैं तो कहीं निशिकासा स्टेशन के पास में ले लो आप.
Right.
या फिर फुनाबोरी हो, ओजिमा हो, जहाँ पर Indians ज़्यादा आते हैं, उस एरिया में, लेकिन स्टेशन से ज़्यादा पास हो, भले आपको उसका प्रीमियम भरना पड़े. लोग ये सोचते हैं कि अरे लेकिन मैंने मैंशन में रूम लिया तो मुझे वो रेंट के साथ वो उनका कांडी ही भी देना पड़ता है और काफ़ी ज़्यादा होता है, 2.5 months से लेके 25,000 to maybe 30,000. Then do it. Why? Because you will definitely get the premium against it. आता है, उसका returns आता है. I've seen so many cases where people say I'm ready to pay, यानी जहाँ पर otherwise it was like 15 मान 1,50,000 yen, where people were expecting. I have one room very near to Nishikasa station where I was expecting 1,50,000 yen as a rent, and then someone came in who was in real need, and that was a corporate. They said we are ready to pay 2,50,000 also. So there are times where people are ready to pay whatever. It is all a demand and supply game, and at the end people always want a good property at very near to station. And whenever it comes to Indian corporates or even corporates, large corporates where Indians are working either at senior levels and all, they prefer good location and And interestingly, I have also seen that people come with these vegetarian and all limitations also, right? They always prefer to stay very near to Nishikazai station, ताकि उनको Indian खाना मिले, right? Vegetarian खाना मिले. So that is also
There.
you know.
Yes,
So there's a tremendous demand where people deliberately say that they come with a specific demand to stay very near to Nishikazai station. Or even Funaburi at times. So that is also an added benefit.
Rahul, just one more question on like how was this? How was the deal for this property brought to you? Like if you want to reflect back and see.
It's very how should I put, nostalgic thing for me. So I used to go for a in a business community called as BNI. And that is where I met my godfather, Uyama-san. He was also part of this BNI, which is a business group meeting place. Okay, and this is where we used to meet every Friday early morning. And one day he said, I have a Jido Hambaiki if you want to start with. And this is like friendly, you became good friends with each other. At the same time, while you're doing business, there's a trust that is built, and then there's a common trust called as BNI, right? When you go it's very similar to going to school, where you become friends because you know that school is the common link between us, and it's similar here. And that is where you start helping each other to do business. So I was helping him do something, he was helping me do something, and in return he said, why not? I have a Jido Hambaiki, and I was always fond of buying a Jido Hambaiki, and that is where he said, why not start with a Jido Hambaiki? I said, I don't have money that much. So he said, you don't need to. It comes with a zero down payment. I said, that's a fantastic idea. So where's the catch? What's the catch? So he said, there's no catch actually. The only thing is that when you don't invest anything, your returns are also very minimal. So I said, okay, but am I going to be positive? He said, fairly positive throughout, but very minimum returns. So how much? 3,000 to 5,000 yen at an average you will earn, but forever, for long term. With zero investment, I said yes, then I'm doing it. Imagine 3,000 or 5,000, whatever money comes with zero investment, you not involving anywhere in the entire process. So it is completely managed by that company, right? Neither buying, neither installing, neither running it, neither refilling those things. I'm nowhere involved apart from receiving the profit.
But can I ask, like, how does that business model work then? Like, what do you own then?
So then, I'm the owner.
Oh,
so
you're the owner
I'm
of
the
the
owner and
Jido
everything.
Hambaiki?
Yes, that is the thing.
Okay.
Why? Because everyone wants to reduce their risk.
Okay.
So what if? So the game is what? Why is someone basically giving something to you at free of cost?
Yeah.
It's only because you're taking the risk of owning it.
Owning it. Okay.
Right. So the risk of ownership is yours. So anything happens to it, I'm responsible. If there is a loss, I'm responsible. Then I may have to pay. But in the last 100 months, never I have been in a situation where I had to pay. In fact, yes, sometimes only in winter times, थोड़ा सा revenue उसका थोड़ा कम हो जाता है. Maybe at times 2,000, 2,500. But every small gain that comes at no effort and no investment is always welcome.
But trying to understand the setup and also the economics behind it. So you kind of become the owner of that Jido Hambaiki.
Yeah.
Every operation, like electricity, refilling, the company is doing.
Correct.
And they are just giving you back this monthly revenue.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
So it's like.
So yeah. So initially I never thought about the buildings.
Yeah.
I only thought about Jido Hambaiki. I said, wow, this is a nice thing. Because the first 2 months I saw money coming in, I said it's interesting. And that's how it works. Okay, so where is another Jido Hambaiki? But then he said, I was not actually wanting to sell the Jido Hambaiki. I'm a Fudosan company. I said, wow, okay. So then what are you trying to sell then? He said, Jido Hambaiki was just one this thing. But there's a room available in the same building where the Jido Hambaiki is located. And that is where I said, okay, I'm interested. I'll probably see the room. The room also came with the same idea, same plan, same process. And then he said, in fact, the owner is trying to sell the entire building. I said, any down payment required? I said, Not really. I said, interested. Then we started. But the building decisions used to happen in hours. So by the time I would say yes, the building was already gone. So I had to, so it was like that timing when people, it was that 2014 to 2017 timing were really nice. But then eventually the banks stopped giving it at 100% down loan. Then the other two buildings I had to actually start with a bit of down payments as well. Yeah.
But for this one, if to conclude, there was no down payment, and
No.
but of course it was a 35-year regular loan.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
But then obviously in the initial days I saw, whenever people used to leave, and in fact the initial few days were when there was 5 rooms empty, right? That was the time when I was not making money. So in fact it was loss.
Of course.
So I had to pay the EMI, half of the EMI from my pocket. But then eventually in next couple of months itself I started finding rooms, because the property itself is sellable, right? If you see from its location perspective, the visibility perspective, right? The space perspective, if you see, it's kind of secluded at the same time, right? So Japanese people generally prefer.
Right.
Here you won't generally have, very few, couple of Vietnamese I guess, but most of them are Japanese people. So they generally stay long term here.
That's really good. Thank you.